You are listening to your new Puppies podcast, starting you and your dog off on the right paw. Here's your host, Debbie Salento.
Hello and welcome to episode 101 of your new Puppies podcast. I'm Debbie, and today I'm going to answer the question, can I play tug of war with my dog? And in short, the answer is yes. And the reason why I wanted to do an episode about this is, one, I'm asked it a lot. Or my clients will very sheepishly be like, but we play tug of war with them, thinking it's not okay. And it totally is. And the reason for this is because there's a lot of myths and misconceptions behind it. And because everything isn't clear-cut, because not every single dog has the same exact needs, there may be some instances where we don't play tug of war with our dog. So that is what I'm going to talk about today. So tug of war, it's a great bonding exercise. It's great physical exercise. It can help satisfy those heavy chewers and those nipping puppies because they're using their mouth, they're using their teeth, they're using their jaw, and it can help tire them out, both the puppy and their jaws. Now, why is this even a question? Well, because somewhere along the line, somebody decided that tug of war is a dominance game and it causes aggression and you can't let your dog win. And that just simply isn't true. I have an entire episode, if you're interested or if you haven't listened to it yet, highly recommend. It's episode 87, and I talk about how your dog is not trying to dominate you and other myths that go along with that. Now, this probably came from the fact that tug of war can cause over-arousal, which just sends our dogs into that place where they just get a little wonky, especially our puppies who don't really have that emotional control. So if they start getting more and more into it, sometimes we can't back them down and they start getting even more mouthy and more nippy. But that's not a dominance issue. And even in those cases, I'm not going to say don't play tug of war. We just have to have some rules behind it. And I'm going to go over that as well. And at the end of the day, this is only happening because our dogs love tug of war so much. And I'm not going to take something like that away from your dog when all we have to do is put some simple boundaries around the game. Now, the vast majority of dogs will play tug of war, will not have any problems. It'll be a fun game for you and your dog, and you won't really have to monitor it. Even the myth of you can't let your dog win is also, it's just not true. It doesn't really matter. In fact, if you have a shy dog or a dog with low confidence, playing tug of war and letting them win can build their confidence because now this is a fun game that they're good at. Okay, so let's talk about what to look for in case you do have to monitor or modify the way you play with your dog. So as I mentioned before, tug of war can cause some over-arousal, especially in puppies. It can get them overly stimulated, overly excited because they don't have that emotional control quite yet. And in fact, we can use tug of war to help teach our dog and teach our puppy this emotional control. We call it impulse control or frustration tolerance. And on that note, I do have a video for you showing you an exercise that you can do. You're going to be able to get it right through the show notes. I'll give you more detail and exactly how to get it at the end of the episode. But first, let's get back to talking about what signs you should look for. So a couple things to look for is vocal escalation. So some dogs are just vocal players. Just because your dog gets a little growly and barky or even a little snappy is not a sign of aggression. Some dogs are just vocal players, and that is going to be very individual to your dog. It's when you start to see an escalation of it and or you see some of these other signs, which includes raised hackles. So the hackles are that like mohawk that you see down their back. It can go all the way to the base of their tail. Again, by themselves, hackles aren't bad. They are just a sign that your dog is excited, might be over-aroused, is very aware of something. By themselves, they're fine. But if there's other signs happening, then it's time to be a little bit more alert to your dog's state of mind. And the other big thing to look for is if the play is getting rougher and rougher and you can't seem to back your dog down. Maybe they're getting more lungy, they're getting more mouthy, they're going after your hands instead of the toy. This is a time to slow the game down. Okay, so again, we're not going to stop playing tug of war with our dog. What we want to do is if we know our dog has a tendency to escalate when tug of war comes out, then we shorten the game. We stop it before they get too excited. We teach them some skills like a really strong drop it. We have another toy ready that we can squeak and throw, or maybe even some treats that we can throw away to, so they'll release the toy and then we can either change the game or maybe move to some training where the energy is a little bit more focused instead of this high energy play. Now, another common concern that my clients have is when the dog starts to work their way up the toy and work towards their hand. And this is just a strategy. Because it works. So it's not aggression. It's not them trying to be dominant. This is just a strategy that helps them win the game that they're playing. So what I like to do is make sure that when you're playing tug of war, like maybe you have a couple toys that are designated for this game and they're extra long. And as they work their way up the toy towards your hand, I just grab the other end of the toy. And then it flips around and now they're back at the end of the toy again. Another great way to avoid this is a flirt pole. I talk about it all the time because I love a good flirt pole. And that's just a pole with a string and a toy at the end. So your dog has a toy, you have the pole that you're playing tug of war with, but their mouth is not near your hands. This is a great option for kids because this is also a game where your puppy might accidentally get your fingers. They don't mean to. It's not like they're, biting at you. They just hit your fingers in the middle of play. And for younger kids, to avoid that completely, a flirt pole is a great option. Or maybe the kids don't play tug of war with the dog. Okay, so to wrap up, yes, play tug of war with your dog. It's actually a very good game to play with them. It burns lots of energy. It's a fan favorite. So it's a great bonding experience because it's a game that can be fun for both human and dog. But some of you might have to adjust it depending on how your dog reacts to the game. Very rarely have I ever encountered a dog. I don't think I've ever encountered a dog where I'm like, no, you can't play this game at all. Now, if that's where you're the most comfortable because you really don't like the way your dog growls when he plays, then yes, do something else. Do something else that you enjoy and your dog enjoys. But don't not play tug of war because you think you're not supposed to, because it's completely fine. Now, as promised, I actually have an exercise that you can do with your dog that uses tug of war, teaches them impulse control, and even the beginnings of a drop it. So I have a video, and I share this video all the time with my students inside Playtime Paws Academy because it has so many great uses. And so for the first time, I'm going to share it publicly with you. You can request that right in the show notes. So if you go to playtimepaws.com/episode 101. Again, that's playtimepaws.com/episode 101. If you receive the Playtime Paws newsletter, you'll be getting a link to watch the video in the next edition. And that is all I have for you today. If you are enjoying this podcast, you can rate and review it wherever you listen, and that's the best way to support the podcast. If you're ready for some more personalized support from me, you can book a private session, either virtual or in person. Or you can join my new puppy course, Your Perfect Puppy, where you get the 4-week course, and 6 months access to me through Playtime Pause Academy to answer all of your training questions while you raise your well-mannered, happy dog. You can find all information on that at playtimepause.com. Just click on Work With Me. Otherwise, I'll see you back here next time. Thank you so much for listening. Bye for now.